Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston. He is your host, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, we got a jam-packed day today. We got three topics we're going to talk about. Mark Pope and the USA 19 team out there. That's going to be one of our topics. The TBT team adds a couple more names to its roster. And we're going to follow off with some good news and some bad news regarding the UK football program. Obviously, I think everybody is used to the bad news, but Kentucky football did have a good week so far. Jacob, how are you doing, man? Long time no see.
I know. It's these off-season shows, you got to, really dive deep to figure out what to talk about other than, already doing the one where Vince leaves. But, it's nice to kind of get back in the routine here and talk a little UK sports.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, let's just jump right into it. Obviously, two of our freshmen, in-state kids, Jasper Johnson and Malachi Marino, were out in Colorado trying out for the USA Under-19 team. Malachi was cut. Granted, I think they said out of an abundance of caution, they pulled him from USA team because he did have an injury. I never really got full clarity on what the injury was, but Jasper has made the final 15. Just your overall thoughts. What kind of experience do you think they're getting playing with some of the top guys in the country right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, the kind of situation that makes you better. But, I mean, these guys are always kind of playing each other throughout AAU now. A lot of them have already played against each other or been teammates before. I think it's good to, Jasper's getting these extra however many weeks there with Pope and, kind of seeing Pope up and close. And but I think it's just good experience for really any of them. And then, it gives Pope an opportunity to get close to even some of these recruits he was trying to, work on for 26.
Yeah, and then, you led me right into what I was going to talk about. Obviously, lots of 2026 recruits in this USA Under-19 team. Tyron Stokes, Talon Kinney, just to name a few. I mean, these are guys that Tyron has already been on campus from the city of Louisville. A guy, obviously, UK prides itself on keeping those in-state guys, those elite-level guys, keeping them home at the University of Kentucky, like Malachi and Jasper. And then Talon Kinney, I know you've mentioned, you've watched him. He's from our neck of the woods up here in Newport, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky. Just in general, what kind of leg up do you think this gives Pope, just having a bunch of FaceTime with a lot of these recruits for 2026?
I'm hoping it's a good one. I don't know if you remember, but Hal did the U19 for a little bit, and that was kind of when we took a slip in recruiting. He took it over right in 2019, so it never really fully made sense to me about that. But all the stuff like Coach K did with Team USA, and then even some of the U19 stuff, it always helped them. So I would assume it's just a personality thing. Hoping the more time these guys get to talk to Pope and, learn his system, they can, really kind of gel with him. And, you mentioned it, Talon Kinney, I've been wanting that kid to play at UK since I saw him play as an 8th grader, and he was the best player on the floor. So I think it would be huge, just to kind of get that extra time. I don't think extra time is going to be a bad thing.
I mean, just in that extra time, Pope's already locked in a visit for Talon to visit the University of Kentucky. He's going to be visiting Lexington the 24th and 25th. So, I mean, just in under a week, he's going to be coming to Lexington, staying a 2-day visit with them. So, I mean, just already you've seen Tyron Stokes and Talon Kinney, both guys who Tyron did make the 15 cut for the USA 19. Talon, it looks like, did not. I mean, you're talking about two guys that obviously the Kentucky roots are deep. They know Malachi. Obviously, Talon played with Jasper at Overtime Elite. Yeah. I mean, I just think this helps just build so much camaraderie between Mark Pope and Jasper Johnson and Malachi Marino, just because those guys already have, like you mentioned, that relationship together. And now that they have that relationship with Pope, it really just combines all five of them together. And I really do think it puts Kentucky in a good spot to land both of them. Obviously, money's going to talk, and I'm sure U of L is sitting there wanting both of them as well.
Yeah, Talon. I mean, I'm just happy he's taken a visit. I thought Kentucky would kind of be dead in the water once he signed with Adidas. So it'll be interesting to kind of see beyond this year, how does that play out? Does he automatically go to an Adidas school? I know a lot of people are feeling Louisville for it. And, there's been some people that have kind of picked him to go to Louisville. But, again, I can't imagine getting a few weeks talking to Mark Pope and, now bringing him in for an official visit. Like, it's necessarily, going to hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, those brand deals, sometimes they make headways with that. I mean, I think Justin Edwards had a brand deal outside of Nike before he came to the University of Kentucky. So obviously there's ways to work around that. I mean, even some of the other guys outside of those two that are going to be down there. I mean, you're looking at Brandon McCoy Jr., Jordan Smith Jr. I mean, these are all Caleb Holt, all guys that are in the top 6 of 24/7 Sports recruiting class. Just getting FaceTime out there in Colorado Springs. I'm pretty sure Pope's already done with his part of helping coach out there, so he's back in Lexington with the team. But, I mean, I can't see how it's a bad thing. I don't think you've ever heard anyone say a negative word about Coach Pope, his coaching style, or his personality in general. So I just wanted to wrap up with that, say I think it's an incredible thing to have Coach out there visiting these guys. And obviously I think it's even more incredible that Jasper's made the under-19 team.
Absolutely. And, we've talked, we both think Jasper's going to be really good. You watch him in Overtime Elite, you see, his shot making abilities and kind of his creativity to be able to see essentially them say he's one of the best, under 19 players in the world. I think it just shows like the guy's obviously got aspirations to play in the NBA and he's that kind of talent.
Yeah. And I know Jasper was thinking of like taking his name out of this just so he could come back to Lexington and, play. Obviously summer workouts just started with all of the guys. Where do you stand on that? Because this obviously, with Jasper going over to Switzerland, if he does accept a full invite, I mean, that does keep him out until July 6th. That is 2 to 3 weeks he's going to be missing with this team. Obviously, he's going to be playing against some of the best in the world and playing with some of the best in the world. So I can hear it both sides. Just kind of wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, well, I think Jasper would be excited to miss Mark Pope's version of Hell Week that, Patino always put him through. And then I saw, Pope put it up on Instagram or one of those, talking about pray for these guys because, it's going to be tough. So I guess if there was a time to go over to Switzerland and play some basketball, now is it. I mean, I don't think it'll be an issue, right? Like you're missing 3-ish weeks. We see guys, a lot of times aren't fully healthy this time of year and then they, are good and gel and ready to go. I think, if he shows up 3 weeks later, it's not like it's just going to kill the chemistry of the whole team. I think if he's good enough to make that team, I think it's an experience that he should go for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you never know. Basketball is such a fragile game. Obviously, I mean, think of guys like Harry Giles, had one ACL injury, was never the same after that. If you have a chance to go represent your country, I think you should be able to go and do it. And I think Coach Pope's expressed that to Jasper, that he wants them to take that opportunity if he wants it. And then obviously, his role is waiting for him in Lexington when he returns. Because if he's good enough to make the team with guys like AJ DeBonsa, Chris Sinek, I mean, Michael Brown, I mean, obviously, I got to put it up there. I mean, that kid sucks. Just kidding. He's actually pretty good. But, I mean, it's a good thing to see him out there with all these guys. Hopefully, when he comes back, hits the ground running. And speaking of, like, hitting the ground running, the TBT team starting to pick up some steam with some of their commits that they're getting for this team. We're going to run through. They have 8 guys already committed to play here in the upcoming weeks to represent La Familia. Jacob, first off, of the 8 guys, I'm putting you on the spot. Who's your personal favorite from their time at Kentucky?
Oh, personal favorite from their time at Kentucky. For me, it's got to be Willie. I loved Willie here. One of the few guys that was here, those multiple years and had some, obviously some really great moments and memories, but a very close second is, I feel like might be your pick, and that's DeAndre Liggins.
Yeah, that definitely is my pick. I mean, one of the guys came from the Billy Gillespie era, stayed through with Calipari, had to work his way into the lineup, getting those minutes that just, I mean, you knew how it worked with Cal. Some guys were in the doghouse, could never get out. Some guys were given minutes that weren't deserved. I mean, Quade Green started over Shea Gilgeous, who's about to win the NBA Finals MVP. So, I mean, stuff like that. DeAndre Liggins, the ultimate 3-and-D guy at the end of his career at the University of Kentucky. But I just wanted to kind of go through here, just name some of the guys and just give me some of your favorite moments from their Kentucky career. Let's go ahead and start with your favorite on the list, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Literally, there's a lot. I don't want to steal them all from you, but
You probably will.
You got all the great dunks. The Florida dunk, the dunk against Cincinnati in the tournament. You got him, talking all the trash to West Virginia after they said, Kentucky's going to be 36-1 or whatever it was at the point. And then probably one of my favorite Willie moments was, he dyes his hair blonde and has the high top fade, and Cal tells him, if you're going to dye your hair like that, you better play good. And he comes out, this was his freshman year, and has like his best game of that season. And Willie was just always a character and, one of my favorite players. And you hear about all the stuff he's kind of gone through since leaving Kentucky. He's been pretty open about his addiction and, just a really dark and depressing time in his life, man. To see him be back here and be embraced by this fan base, like, it's awesome. And, when Cal left to go to Arkansas, he pretty much said, you haven't been cutting it, with Kentucky standards of the last few years, and I'm always going to be, Kentucky. Like, Cal's my guy, but I bleed blue. So I know that's a little more than one moment, but, just one of my all-time favorites. I just wanted to, touch on a lot of his great stuff.
Yeah, let's leave it up to Jacob to go over here. I asked for one moment, so that way I can have some.
I'll give you one moment going forward, but Willie's different.
One of mine, I don't know if you remember that NCAA tournament game against Notre Dame. He locked up with Jerry and Grant from the inbound pass all the way into the corner, contested that three. And what big guy, 7-footer, is running the length of the court with Jerry and Grant was having such a great postseason then too, was basically Notre Dame's entire team. What 7-footer is running the length of the court stride for stride, not fouling, getting a hand up in a contested three? And I really think that play, just, you mentioned it, outside of like the Florida dunks like that, just showed what Willie was really all about throughout his Kentucky tenure.
That dunk against Cincinnati, I don't think that guy ever played basketball again. I think he walked straight to the team bus and, didn't even bother coming out.
Yeah, as a guy who works over in Ohio, I spend a good amount of time in the Clifton area. That's the whole reason to leave Cincinnati in general as well. Clifton area sucks. I'm sure he probably just moved on to bigger and better schools after that.
That, and then it's not a moment, but, every time they show the picture of where, we held UCLA to 7 first half points, it's Willie and Carl with their arms around each other. And I just think about them, blocking every shot collectively. Like one of the two was sending it back. So many great Willie moments. One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Obviously, one of Cal's, longest tenured players, stayed throughout his junior year. Obviously, saw a lot of first year he goes to the NIT, second year the national championship game, and then the Final Four. Obviously, never was able, collect that national championship trophy, but Willie was obviously a big part of all three of those teams. And, speaking of somebody who was a really big part of that 2012 national championship team, the best shooter on that team without a doubt, Deron Lamb. We obviously don't win number 8 without him. Huge part of both teams that he was a part of. Give me some of your best moments from Deron Lamb's Kentucky tenure.
Oh, man. Deron, just another one. Team no sleep, baby. He was the main guy, started the 3 goggles. And one of the more impressive jumps from like a freshman year to a sophomore year. And it's not necessarily as bad as freshman year. And, obviously the game's a little easier with Anthony Davis. But like Deron Lamb, one of the most automatic shooters in Kentucky history. I don't know if there's anybody with an open corner 3 I would trust more than Deron. As far as like a particular moment, just his performance in that national championship game, it was. I'll let you go first on the next one, but yeah, what more can you say other than Deron? Like, I can picture him now running down the court on that green floor in New Orleans, holding up the 3 goggles after banging one in.
Yeah, I don't know why. One of the things, this was like early in my childhood and early into like my Facebook tenure. I just remember pregame, him and Terrence Jones had like a selfie in the bathroom with the full uniforms on before like every game. That's why we unveiled those gray on gray jerseys that year. I mean, for some reason, that's something that really sticks out to me. And obviously, you mentioned him leading the points in the national championship game. Deron Lamb. I mean, there's really not much more else you can say. Obviously, huge part of that national title win. And
Well,
I will say, you did say spot up corner three. There's somebody we're going to get to later that I might argue with on there.
well, let's go. I keep stealing your thunder, so why don't we talk about your favorite player, DeAndre Liggins, and you give me your favorite Liggins moment.
I mean, there's too many DeAndre Liggins moments. I mean, that was my guy. Obviously, came in with Billy Gillispie. Just for doing that, you get a little couple extra brownie points with me. Sticking through the Gillespie era, all of whatever was going on. I mean, there's more like quote scandals with Billy Gillispie of what. I mean, we won't even get into it. The guy, we all know it's been too much, but that UNC game, that corner three that he hit. I mean, I bought those Jordan shoes immediately after that he hit in that game. And I know DeAndre Liggins is a personal favorite of yours, and if Willie probably wasn't on this list, he was probably your number one guy. So give me one that sticks out here for DeAndre Liggins.
Yeah, so I mean, same moment, but not him hitting the three. I think it's afterwards when UNC calls the timeout, and you got Cal giving him like the finger to come over, and then just gives him a big hug and kisses him on the forehead. Like DeAndre Liggins was just the prototypical Cal forward, right? Like not the greatest shooter in the world, but can knock him down if he's open. But his defense and ability to get to the rim just fit with everything. And then we talk about guys that like NIL, I think, would have benefited. Liggins was one of those. If you remember, he left after his junior year because he was having a kid. Like, he could have, I don't know how much his NBA career earnings was, but it couldn't have been very much, in terms of what he could have made an extra year here in Kentucky. So that's kind of what I think about when I think of Liggins.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about it. How many of these guys do you think might have thrived a little bit more in this Mark Pope current era system that we have? Like, especially Deron Lamb. Could you imagine him in the amount of threes that he'd be getting up in this Pope system? I mean, same with Liggins, that lockdown on-ball defender and the ability to spot up in the corner like a guy we're going to mention later. I mean, could you imagine just this team, even just the 8 that we're going to list off, under Coach Pope instead of Calipari, who's going to sit you after missing 1 or 2 threes?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Liggins performed pretty well under Cal, but I will say, like, imagine, like, having Liggins on that team last year. You need a guy on the perimeter that can just go down. Like, imagine Liggins, Ortega, and Lamont. Like, that's – your not very good defense, I think, takes a very significant jump under, by adding DeAndre Liggins. But, yeah, as far as Deron, I don't know if you remember, him and Marcus Teague did that interview with KSR probably like a year and a half ago, shortly after Pope was hired, and they just kind of like they asked Deron that exact question, and he just laughed. He's like, I would have shot every ball I touched.
Yeah, man, I would have loved to have seen it. Obviously, I don't think I would have liked to have seen Marcus Teague in this system if we're going to mention two of them. But yeah, I mean, seeing Deron in that system, and even like DeAndre Liggins. I mean, you kind of brought it up there. I mean, the player comp, Otega Owe. I mean, it's kind of right there. I do think DeAndre Liggins was a better shooter and a better defender, but I do think Otega was able to get more shots, with the ball in his hands. So a little bit of give and take there, but size, speed, athleticism, portfolio, I do think they matched up pretty well together. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Obviously, I mean, the Harrison twins. I mean, that's really all you got to say. Both of them. Obviously, a flood of memories come back for both of them. I mean, Aaron, we all know what they are.
Yep.
The shot against Michigan, the shot against Wisconsin. Obviously, those are the two that everybody are going to bring up. But let's go ahead and let's focus on Andrew Harrison. What is one of your favorite moments from Andrew Harrison in the blue and white?
Well, if you remember, he played great in that Notre Dame game. Another game where you talked about, I mean, we damn near lost in the Elite Eight that year to Notre Dame, but Andrew Harrison played probably outside of Carl the second best, game on that team. And so I kind of think of that memory from him. Of the two, just in general, I'll just say, like, two of the most, I think, overly abused UK players by fans.
Yeah.
Like the most criticism. I mean, national championship game, a 38-1 season where they were like your primary dominated backcourt, and just to kind of see the disrespect they took a lot. I don't feel like they ever really felt loved by UK, so it's made me happy the last 2 years that they've come back for this tournament, played on this team where they can, especially Andrew. I think Andrew got it significantly worse. It
Yep.
makes me happy to see like he gets kind of that fan love now.
Yeah, and the weird thing is they did like polar opposites. In 2013, 2014, Andrew Harrison had a great postseason run, while Aaron really didn't help too much out. And you get back the following year, obviously the whole tide's flipped. But just mentioning like the 2014, 2015, I think why fans were so hard on the Harrison twins was because of what eventually happened. Obviously, Devin Booker, multi-time All-Star, was coming off the bench. And then the very next year, Tyler Ulis wins SEC Player of the Year. So obviously, that's the reason. Hindsight shows it a little bit. I do know, obviously, I'm going to have to give a shout out here. My dad was all over it in the Wisconsin game to get Ulis out there. Unfortunately, Andrew Harrison was struggling a little defensively. That was probably his worst game of that tournament run. Unfortunately, I do think that gets held over both of their heads a little too much. So, like you mentioned, it's really good to see him coming back and feeling comfortable in Lexington.
Yeah, and I agree, but and then I always think back to that Wisconsin game, and everybody, talks about how it should have been Ulis and Booker. I don't know if anybody remembers watching that game, but like Devin Booker could not guard in that.
Yeah,
game.
that's why I didn't mention putting Devin in there.
Yeah, there's a lot that say that, and I understand maybe an argument for Ulis, but that's one of the few times I did really agree with Cal, like playing his guy, like they got you here. They had you in the national championship a year ago. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I still think he probably lose if. I think it was more of just the coaching of taking the air out of the ball versus who you had on the floor at the time. So I do think they had a lot of unfair criticisms, especially kind of that particular Wisconsin game. I think it was more on Cal versus those two guys.
Yeah. Or how about you feed the number one pick in the NBA draft?
Wow.
You could have just stopped by feeding him the ball instead of stop giving it to him. Or, hey, how about this? This guy competed in an NBA three-point contest. Let him step outside and shoot the ball. You saw how it worked for Frank Kaminsky, and he's obviously nowhere near the talent that Karl Anthony Towns was. That team is still grinds my gears to the day. You can tell how the voice is getting a little louder, the face is getting a little bit more red. I'll tell you what, that was the start for me of the decline of Coach Cal. Obviously, we still had some good teams after, but boy, my blood still boils from that game.
Yeah, I didn't imagine this pod would be reminiscing on 2015 Wisconsin, which is again, we were both born in late 90s, so like we weren't there for the Leitner shot, but by far the most painful and depressing loss of my life of any sport. Bengals, Reds, UK football, it doesn't matter. Like 2015 Wisconsin, a piece of me kind of died that day with that team, but yeah, just I didn't expect to get here, but here we are, I guess.
Yeah, and it's already hurting a little bit right now, just hearing it. Obviously, somebody with a little bit more fond memories, the team wasn't necessarily as good, but you mentioned knocking down the corner three. Knocking down the corner three, and you're not going to mention my guy who just went 50, 40, and 90 this season, and you always knew was hitting the corner three. My favorite Ainsley Almanor moment, and I'm not even going to let you butt in here, is when you looked at me in the face and said you didn't think Ainsley Almanor could play in the SEC. And what did he do about 2 weeks later? He had the double figures against Mississippi State and was one of the main reasons we were able to beat the Bulldogs in Starkville.
Yep, you're right. I said it all year, and I brought it up a lot on myself. I said,
you did. The hands up.
This isn't a guy that can play in the SEC, and he proved me wrong, and he played that role of the guy off the bench that would come in and give you some. How many times did he come in and just give you energy minutes? And he's one of the first guys in, and he either grabbing a rebound or like diving on the ball, on for a loose ball. He did it, in the Florida game. Remember, once he came in, the energy just kind of shifted. But the best Ansley moment is obviously that game in Knoxville, knocking down 4 threes or whatever it was. And, that's the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ansley has they're more fresh in our brain because
Yeah,
BBN was a little rejuvenated this season. Really got
absolutely.
behind a lot of these guys, so it is good to see Pope getting his first guy that's going to be able to mingle in with some of the Calipari guys. That's going to be really nice to see. And then obviously a season we probably like to forget. One of the older players that's going to be on this team, Archie Goodwin, was announced. I want to say it was probably like 36 hours ago that he's going to be a part of La Familia. Jacob, give me one of your favorite moments. Obviously, it's been a while. 2012, 2013, he was only in Lexington for a season. But give me some of those good Archie Goodwin moments.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a particular moment for Archie other than just remembering that he had to try to do so much offensively for the Cats. There was we talk about it with Brandon Garrison a lot. BG time is what Brandon Garrison says in his head. The king of that was Archie Goodwin. Archie, it was always Archie time. So I think he was somebody that I think would have benefited playing on a little bit better of a team. We probably would have seen his role be used a little more efficiently. But as far as a particular moment, I don't really have one that stands out.
Yeah, man, mine was going to be similar to what you said. I mean, especially when Nerlens went down. I mean,
He was
Archie
out.
just he had to be the offense for that team. I mean, we want to talk about it's supposed to be us bringing up good memories. Somehow we're talking about the 2014-15 Wisconsin loss and Nerlens Noel tearing his ACL.
I
I mean,
blame
I
you.
just
It's
remember,
how you went through. You should have finished with Willie. I would have.
yeah, we probably should have switched the order of these guys, but yeah, I mean, I just remember Archie having to do so much for this team. I mean, honestly, I kind of want to compare him to what Jalen Lowe had to do at Pitt this year. I mean, a guy who just had to be the offense. Of course, he had to force up shots, took some bad shots, and that's why. I mean, I think he shot like 41% during his time at UK. So, I mean, obviously, he was still good enough to be drafted first in the first round by the Phoenix Suns, and played with a guy who played on the TBT team for La Familia last year and Eric Bledsoe. So, I mean, good to see Arch coming back. I mean, and according to what I've known, this is the first time I think I've seen him back at anything with the University of Kentucky. I don't know if you've seen anything.
No, I mean, he's never really been a guy, even when Cal was here, that kind of came back. I think part of that might have been, some of the fan criticisms, when that team wasn't very good and he's kind of being like the one guy that's going out there and shooting a ton or, struggling offensively in some games and you lose by 25 and he's continuing to shoot.
Yeah.
It's kind of understandable that the fans were, pretty upset with him, but there's probably a lot more negative stuff than, kind of we realized around those situations. And, maybe that's why he didn't come back. Who knows? Maybe he loves BBN and he's just admired it from afar.
Yeah. I mean, also, he's probably just now wrapping up what is his professional career. Obviously, I think he played 6-7 years in the NBA and the G League. He's probably making his way around, the European tour as well. So good to see Archie Goodwin back in the blue and white. And last guy, and I'm going to be honest with you here, I don't really have any fond memories of the Dragon. You're going to mention your favorite of them, but Khalil Whitney. I mean, I remember him leaving like mid-season. There was all those weird rumors about it going on. Something I remember the most was honestly probably just was like a month, 2 months ago. He posted a photo on TikTok of him at his time at UK and said probably just needed a hug, and then foreplaying to him now more grown up and mature to be able to deal with that situation a little bit better, and how the way the University of Kentucky fans were able to rally around him and kind of give him that support that he felt like he never got while he was in Lexington.
Yeah, it's honestly a pretty cool story, right? A guy that, you don't know. Maybe it was his fault. Maybe he was immature. Maybe it was, some behind the scenes stuff that we had no idea about. Something led to him leaving. Again, don't know whose fault it is, but, it's hard to, remember sometimes. Like, a lot of these kids are kids. They're 18 years old. I don't know if you remember what it's like being 18, but like,
Too
there's
long ago, man. I can't remember any of that.
there's a lot going on in the world when you're 18, and you can make mistakes and leave a situation that maybe you shouldn't have. But I agree with you. I think it's really cool that now he's kind of getting his moment to come back and feel the love from BBN again. But yeah, my favorite moment was March Madness that year, and they did the red carpet, and he's out there with the big sunglasses, and I think that's when he told all the reporters he goes by the Dragon, and that's kind of where that all came from. So that's probably my favorite Khalil Whitney moment.
Yeah, I can't even, now that you bring it up a little bit more, I'm starting to get like pieces that I can remember a little bit. But even then, I'm having trouble remembering too much about Khalil's time at the University of Kentucky. And
Yeah, I
obviously,
love
a guy who was before both of our times here is going to be the head coach, Coach Sean Woods,
yeah.
obviously a member of the Unforgettables. I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on with Sean Woods, but it is nice to see, a guy from early. Obviously, for a lot of our listeners, it might not be that early, but for us, I mean, this is before we were born. Obviously,
Yep.
just a member of the Unforgettables, so it's good to see him back in Lexington as well.
Yeah, and you got kind of this multiple era of Kentucky, right? Like you got Sean Woods, the coach from like you said, the Unforgettables back in the Patino days, and then you got the Cal players playing in it, and you even got a Mark Pope player coming back to play. So I mean, I don't even know, like across the country and like these things, like how often is it a guy graduates and then the next year is playing for like the alum team? It can't be too often. So I think it's pretty cool. I would imagine Ansley's one of the better guys in shape on that roster.
Yeah, Hensley definitely has to be in the better shape of these guys. I mean, a lot of these guys are still playing pro, but they're playing overseas. Hensley's looking to start his basketball journey. I saw his interview with Tom Leach the other day, obviously the voice of the Cats, and he was just talking about how he doesn't really know what's next and how this was just a good opportunity to play in front of the Kentucky fans again. And, maybe this is the start of what, blossoms more of a pro career. So it's good to see him, potentially get that opportunity after this.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And obviously, we're going to wrap up. We talked about some bad things earlier. We do have some good news, or at least it was good news until about, what, six hours ago. Kentucky football was on a hot streak with getting commitments. I mean, they had 7 in, I believe, 9 days. Obviously, I got a little bit of conspiracy. They might have had a lot of these locked up and they knew Vince was going to be leaving. So once Vince did leave, they wanted these guys to announce. Obviously, that's conspiracy theory. Jacob, you think that's got some backing to it? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a little something to that. And, once the Vince news went official, they were calling these guys like, all right, let's go ahead and put it out there. Let's, get it done. We need some good wins. And I mean, they had some. I'm glad you kind of left this for the end because I don't want to just go on a tangent and be Mr. Negative for football season. We're going to have, 2.5 more months to kind of do that here before the first game at the end of August. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of ironic, right? Like you have 2 recruits before Vince goes to Louisville, and everybody's going, what's going on with recruiting? The second he leaves, you're getting a commitment left and right every day, it felt like. So, yeah, definitely, I agree with you. There's a little planning on that part.
Yeah, and just to mention some of the guys that we've picked up over the past week and a half. Messiah Tilson, safety from Illinois. Jordan Crutchfield, just athlete from Florida. Prince Jean, which is a hell of a name. I know you like that name. I can tell just by the face. Wide receiver from Georgia. Davis McCray from Texas. And, traditionally, University of Kentucky does not recruit Texas at all. So it'll be interesting to see if they can hold on to that commitment there. And then Cameron Miller, offensive tackle from Indiana, and Delvicio Alston, looks like a running back from Alabama, and then Max Morig, linebacker from Pennsylvania. Obviously, a lot of these guys are still fresh to us, so we still have to be able to look at them here. Most of them are ranked to 3 stars, except for Merrick. He is unranked. But this also comes with the news today of, what would you say, about 4 hours ago, maybe 5 hours ago, Jarvis Strickland, 4-star tackle, has decommitted. Obviously, Vince was huge in that recruitment. obviously, along with Eric Wolford. Are we just assuming he's going to Louisville since he decommitted?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's one of the upper hands Vince is going to get here is bringing him to Louisville with him.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. But I'm afraid to say his name, Patonsky, from
Yeah.
the quarterback from Moeller, the two-sport athlete. I mean, you and I are going to go up there for a game. Obviously, people are thinking, I know Adam Luckett from On3 and KSR put in a crystal ball for him to pick Kentucky. I was listening to their podcast not too long ago. He expects it to be done within the next week and a half. If that happens, I mean, we're looking at a guy who's being recruited by Alabama, Oregon, had official visits to both of those places. It'll be good to get him in the fold. Supposedly he throws 94 to 97 from the bump. So, I mean, obviously the kid's got a hell of a fastball. So you and I are definitely going to have to get up to Moeller and watch one of his games if he commits to the blue and white.
Yeah, and they've actually, over the years, it's felt like done pretty good with, whether it's in-state or right there, Ohio, QBs that have had some, pretty big offers from, other schools. We've seen it pretty frequently. I don't know. I don't want to be Mr. Debbie Downer, but like based on our conversation from the podcast, 2 weeks ago or whatever, like it's hard for me to see any of these guys being here, too long after if you understand what my prediction for the season is going to be. So, I mean, I'm glad they're getting them. You'd rather have them than not have them, but yeah, I don't know how to kind of talk about it in a positive light, unfortunately.
Hey, you're just looking too far into the future. We got to worry about what we can control right now. The games haven't started yet, so we got to be able to get some of these guys into the fold.
I guess that's a positive.
I will say, think about the guys who go from baseball and play quarterback at, obviously guys come to mind, Russell Wilson at NC State, Jameis Winston at Florida State. I mean, there's just guys and guys that Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, obviously. I mean, first-round pick in both sports. Obviously, they said this guy's got the potential to be drafted in baseball next year. So, obviously, you'll have to look to that, make sure, he doesn't get drafted and go that pro route. But I do think Kentucky has a good chance to land him, and I do think that'll be at least somebody to where the fans can look forward to and be like, hey, listen, that is our guy that we're going to sell the program going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, if this coaching staff's going to be here for a while, you got kind of the piece to your point that you can say, here's our quarterback, 3 years from now.
Yep, completely agree. Jacob, you got any other breaking news that you're wanting to dish out to the fans, or are you ready to sign us off here?
I don't. I'm good. We'll get to, touch base once a week. We'll, kind of focus more in on this La Familia as that kind of gets kicked off. And, yeah, let's get through this off season and get ready for football.
All right, BBN. So going forward, probably going to be doing once a week podcast on Thursday afternoons. And then we have a big giveaway. Jacob, I know I tagged you in it, saw it on Instagram. I went down to Lexington, was able to meet Jasper Johnson and his dad, Dennis, obviously another UK legend, giving away a signed photo of his on our TikTok, on Instagram. Just reach out to me. I'll put your name in for the drawing. We're going to give that away on Thursday, July 3rd. Put all the names in a spinner, a real randomizer, and pick one lucky fan to do it. But follow us on TikTok, Instagram. Jacob's doing a good job over there on X, getting the news out and on time. But with that being said, that's all I got, Cats fans. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.